Hello and welcome to another coronavirus healing circle. And yes, I'm so happy that you could join us. I'm so proud of you and your commitment to release fear because, as Ashley is going to share with you in a moment, fear is the killer here and peace is the objective. That is the healing pathway to releasing the openings in your immune system. It lowers your risk of getting this virus and it speeds your healing process or reduces the pain and suffering that you could experience if you were to get it. I'm just so happy you're committed to doing this, and thank you so much for joining us. It means a lot for Ashley and I to be able to share our healing abilities and to hold space for your transformation, because sitting around in fear is not helping the world. It is not helping you, your family, your friends, or your community. And so we want to help you brighten your light, raise your frequency, cultivate more peace, and give you tools that empower you to create peace. And tonight we have some really exciting information to share with you so that you can understand perspectives. Ashley, will you please start by just sharing a little bit of what you shared with me before we got on with everybody? Ashley, by the way, is a critical care nurse at Rady Children's Hospital. She has 30 years of experience in both neurology and the cardiovascular unit. She is one of the most senior nurses, and I'm just gonna zip it so you can talk, Ashley. Go for it.
I think really where a lot of my expertise is in critical care, newborn, pediatric, and cardiovascular. And in that area, I work a lot with children and older kids with really significant respiratory problems and challenges called adult respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS. You may see that in the news and around. That's what happens with this virus as it infiltrates the lung system and the cardiovascular system. So a lot of times the very critically ill develop a lot of these diseases inside the lungs that diminish oxygen delivery and CO2 exchange. And so in that process, people can get very sick, including develop multi-system organ failure. So although that sounds ominous and awful, that still is hitting a small part of the population that gets sick with this coronavirus. So we want to support you from not being ill ever at all is a possibility. And the way that it's a possibility is to shift our consciousness. It is to shift our fear, our concern, our overwhelm. For lots of different reasons, our fear, our overwhelm, our anxiety, what happens is, whether it's conscious or unconscious, impacts us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And that's what creates us to, spread this pandemic. So that's what we wanted to really focus on today, was not focus on how to fix our bodies or make our immune system strong. We want to reduce our stress. And as we reduce our stress and stand in peace, through our circles of influence that we're going to share today, we actually reduce the opportunity to have these kinds of numbers that the CDC and the World Health Organization is sharing as far as a possibility or probability on the present timeline. We all of us that are seeing this video and participating in these processes of creating self-care on the inner and the outer, actually will begin to change these numbers pandemically. Okay, so it's really very supportive about creating levels of peace in your life.
Most definitely. Thank you, Ashley. That was very helpful. A healing intention, inner transformation that ultimately transforms the world. There's an old saying, peace begins with me. How do we get to peace? Well, we have to release our fear, and in this case, fear of the unknown. And yes, it will increase your immunity to stress, among other things. We are going to share with you how to understand how the energy of fear moves between people through a very unique lens, okay? And we're calling this circles of influence. And with it, you will gain 5 energetic relating perspectives that are predominantly produced from fear. And you can certainly understand the opposite of that, but we're here to work on our fears, because inside Oneness, it's beautiful. The energy flows. It's a place where we are centered. It feels utopic, and we don't worry about anything. We have no stresses and no anxiety. So we want to work on clearing fear. We're going to talk briefly also about maintaining peace. And you'll understand after you see the circles of influence how this virus has affected everyone. So there are 3 ways in which we have influence. There's conscious, which is I create conscious choice to influence through love. We have unconscious influence. I hadn't recognized how my consciousness challenges present fear in my everyday experiences as I relate to others and myself. And with this, like the last 2 sessions, we were sharing with you how we all have consciousness challenges. And those unconscious thoughts we have to get connected to. We must be willing to open up and look at what is driving our experience so that we can heal those, because they're all rooted in fear, which is rooted in a need to survive. We want to be in a state of thrival so that conscious influence from inside love happens organically and naturally without any thought, without any fear. And that means that we typically have a guiding principle to support us. And we love the model of in service to us. Because in this model, we do have true interdependence. I fill up my cup and I take care of me for you. And you fill your cup up with self-love for me. Then we can come together to include everyone, and it's good for everyone. And that model of love supports us all being in this empowered state of heart-centered consensus, where everyone agrees that it's good for them and it's good for everybody. And as we begin to live this process, we develop and cultivate more and more peace in our lives. And peace organically creates happiness. So the next time that you feel happy, ask yourself, what did I do to create peace in my life? And I'll give you a clue. You might have let go of a judgment, or you might have changed a belief, or let go of a projection on somebody, or a projection on you that you went into agreement with. And those are some very key areas that you can notice right away where you went to peace with something and you organically began to create happiness. Because as we shift and change our energy, we just start feeling lighter. We have more trust and faith on our path, wherever that path is going. So when we're in the unconscious state of influence, we are sharing garbage. I mean, let's be blunt here. We have consciousness challenges, and they are polluting the real estate between me and others. And that is what we have to work on, because that's just fear in the airwaves, okay? And we want to clear that up so that we can be at peace, others can sense it, we can sense it in others, and we start living in a very different transformative state. So influence is understood when you understand perspectives. And we just want to share with you very briefly that our languaging has set us all up for perceiving one's perspective, and it's typically our own. So it's me, I, myself, and that type of thing. And we rarely do step into another person's perspective, although I love family and medical constellations because this is a conscious method of stepping into another person's perspective to fully learn and appreciate what's going on and then be able to heal it. Okay, let's get started. Ashley and I were having a really great conversation today, and we realized, and Ashley is really the genius behind all of this here, because she has always come in knowing this whole perspective thing, and I had to learn it. And we summed it up in 2 bullet points for you, that when we evaluate what our perspective is, we have an opportunity to evaluate how we are speaking to ourselves or to others. And that's conscious awareness. And then in the second bullet point, we find it's valuable to understand others' perspective so that we have continuity inside the conversation or the relationship. And I just want to add in a third bullet point here, because my son, who's turning 8, we have this we have this conversation quite often, and I will bring up the concept of arrogance, and he'll say to me, "What's that?" Or "Remind me again what that is." And I'll say, "Yes, you failed to take into consideration your sister's perspective." And that was one of the things that we loved about this picture. These adorable kids, they're not mine, but we love them because they really are stuck in their own perspective, and they're unwilling to see what the other person has to offer or where they might be coming from. So the first perspective is me to myself. And this is a process of how I communicate to myself and the different aspects of me. Actually, you had a great example today, and it might be perfectly inserted here if you wouldn't mind recalling what that is.
Sure.
Okay.
Me to myself, this first perspective can get rather paradoxical, so to speak. We don't maybe always recognize that we have different parts of ourselves, but we do, right? We have a physical part, we have a mental part, we have an emotional part, we have a spiritual part. So those are 4 basic parts. And then when we break those parts down, right? In our mental part, we could have our left linear brain talking and saying, it's time, we have to hurry up, we have to do things in order, we have to sequence them. Or our right brain could be talking and like, no, I want art and I want music and I want to dance my way through the conflict. Or we have an emotional self that's going like this and biting our nails and freaking out. And we have a spiritual part that says, come on, let's get with the program, you know. Or that could be a judgmental spiritual self, right? Or there could be the ego that says, I can't do this. This will never work. I'm not going to survive. I might as well throw in the towel. So, and then there's our physical body that expresses, right? It expresses through symptoms, right? So we have many aspects of our own beingness that has lots to say. And sometimes when we can get confused about who's who in this zoo called myself. So we wanted to give value to this perspective because it is valuable to take a moment and ask yourself, which part of me is talking? Is it my mental mind? Is it my emotional body, energetic body? Is it my emotions and I'm expressing them? Is it a spiritual aspect saying, ring into my ear saying, hey, pay attention to this part, you know, or the environment saying it. So there's lots of different ways that we can talk to ourselves and talk to the different parts of ourselves. And it's pretty valuable because the different aspects will share us where to guide the conversation.
And it really is a conversation. And we're going to do some clearing on this perspective in just a moment. The influence I have on myself when I go into self-judgments truly is an attack, because it'll put your energy in the toilet and you might as well flush it at that point, because the more you put self-judgments on yourself, the greater the impact, until you feel you are stuck in inertia. You feel powerless, you feel victimized, and you may have done it all to yourself. And all it takes is really shining that light of curiosity on what your self-judgments are. And the reason this is super important right now is because it will lower your immune system. Because did you notice the word attack? And what does the immune system do? Its function is to go after the pathogen, the toxin, etc. Well, what if you have toxic thoughts about yourself? What if they originate in here? What if your immune system is going to target in here? We want to get out of those patterns, because if we start even judging our self-judgments, right? Oh my gosh, I was so good at it, I didn't even know it. And one day Ashley said, okay, let's go to your self-judgments. I'm like, yeah, right, I'm there. Okay, what's next? And we was like, let's move this on. We are so sophisticated, our brains will hide our self-judgments from us. But it is the #1 go-to place when you feel unhappy or depressed or anxious. How have you judged yourself? And go through your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual energy body. How have you judged your physical body? Okay, take a moment to just step into that. Step into your physical energy body in relationship to the coronavirus. Just notice the first thing that comes to mind. It could be fear about your immune system. Maybe you have a medical condition like asthma or a respiratory disease. Could be another problem that you feel that your body is not held up the way you would like it to, and you have fears about your physical body. Maybe you've judged yourself for not taking the best care of your body. Whatever your self-judgment is, just go, oh, I found it. Wow, great, right? We're not going to judge it. We're going to actually breathe it out right now. So, if you have a fishing net, go ahead, swoop through your energy field and pull up as many self-judgments as you would like, and just breathe them out right now. And now go through your mental energy body. What thoughts have you had about yourself and how you're handling the stress of social distancing, the stress of having to pay bills without perhaps a job? Take a moment, connect with those self-judgments. Oh, okay, I know what that one is. I let that go. Breathe that out. These are all fears that you're not good enough, you haven't planned well enough, that you didn't see this coming, especially if you're an empath, someone who's intuitive, and might have this idea that they should have known what was coming down their road, so they could have avoided this. Whatever it is, just breathe that out. And go through your emotional body for just a moment and connect with one emotion that is linked to the coronavirus. Ugh, I get so frustrated. I get so irritated. I'm so angry. Okay, great. You noticed it. I shouldn't be getting angry over this. I should be more compassionate. Those are great self-judgments. Anything that starts with I coulda, I woulda, I shoulda, or I can't believe I feel so depressed when I'm at home watching Netflix and have it so good. Okay, breathe it out. Let's stop judging the self-judgments. Let's connect, say, I let that go, and I breathe it out. And do that with your spiritual body. Maybe the way you've judged yourself for not being able to create more peace, or not having enough peace, or feeling joy. Just connect, find your self-judgment, and breathe that out. Because now that you've breathed it out, at least 4 self-judgments, you've already raised your energy up. Here's the next perspective that we want to share with you. This is me to you. And inside this relating, you'll notice that we have these intentions about how we want to share in our communication with people. But we may not always set the listening, because we may not have cleared our judgments of the other person, ourselves. We may go in with fears and doubts. So all of those judgments, that discord, is unconsciously directed towards the other person, and it diminishes the relating. And so the other person actually may feel all of that, not hear what you're trying to share in the conversation, and respond to your emotional tone. And then the whole thing blows up on both sides. So we want to be aware that we have not just me to myself, but we have me to you, how I share with you my energetic judgments about you, the other person. So this one is fairly easy to capture, as well as the first. This one is quite interesting. So in the perspective number 3, you to me, the relating starts from the other person, and it comes towards you inside the conversation. Now, there may be no words shared. There could just be looks or body language. But the energetics are still there. So we know that we have judgments, beliefs, and projections that flow back and forth between ourselves and other people, and vice versa. So Ashley and I thought we would act this one out so that you could get an even clearer idea. So I'm going to be me, okay, which means I'm going to be you. So I want you to tune in and listen as if Ashley, who's going to be the you, okay, white shirt, white ball, can actually, you can hear what she has to say. Now, to help you get this concept, because Ashley doesn't know this, but I have these rose-colored glasses that have consciousness challenges on them. They're my filters that I see everything. And to make things worse, I actually can't really hear anything because I've got so many filters going on. So Ashley, what was it you wanted to say to me today about the coronavirus and social distancing and getting work done?
I don't see how we can even get work done when we can't get together and really finish our book and other initiatives we're here to do.
What? Wait, did you just say that I can't get anything done right?
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
I'm not managing my time?
No.
So what you can't see is that I have time consciousness problems and people pleasing and perfectionism, and I have fear of being wrong. So I filtered everything Ashley wanted to share with me through these lenses. It wasn't very helpful, and I may have responded out of fear that I was being judged.
And I might have been a little anxious with my need to get things done. So I packaged that expression, that way of sharing information with you, with fear and anxiety around it,
Yes.
which very well could accentuate the triggers of your filters that are already going on inside you.
Right. So with conflict resolution, I actually have been working on these consciousness challenges for a couple years now, and I'm actually seeing a little more clearly lately. But what's interesting, and I hope you understand this, is that we're sharing 5 perspectives tonight. And I may have worked on 3 out of the 5. I may still have another perspective to clear. So we want to make sure that you understand that when you clear a consciousness challenge, you're doing it from all 5 perspectives. And they don't show up all at once. So you have to be mindful that you will notice it, or your inner guidance will direct you to notice what is being presented to you. So perspective number 4 is me to the world. Look at all those yous out there. This is Duality 101. When we see everyone outside of us, we're relating to them in a different construct. And all of those consciousness challenges that were all created from fear are inside the relating. And it's that pipe that you see that connects me to other people. It's an energetic system. I'm flowing all the energy through that space over to the other party.
So you can see how here in this example, if we being the me, the red shirt, right? Like Annie's implementing there, as me, emulate for the coronavirus, for example, fear of getting sick myself, or fear of others that I know in my circle of influence that could get sick and be fearful themselves, then I'm actually truly transmitting that out to the world and to the specific people that I'm focused on. Because as I focus my energy, good or bad, I focus it with my mind, with my heart, with my beingness. It focuses over to those other people in our circles of influence, and it affects them. And then you can see that goes on and on and on to each one. And so that's how we spread this pandemic of fear.
Absolutely. And this is just sort of like a little commercial break here, but these consciousness challenges really disturb the energetic relating. And we end up creating more separation. This is oneness, where we're all inside love with heart-centered consensus. And as we create more and more judgments from fear, we separate until we get to such an extreme that we're literally drowning in our challenges. So we want to be mindful of that, because it can go in other directions we never intended. So I liked this picture because here we have 4 peaceful balls in heart-centered consensus. And then along comes a person with consciousness challenges, AKA the wrecking ball, and it disturbs the peace. And so that is an illustration of conflict. And the 4 red balls could actually represent you and aspects of you, like your physical body, your emotional body, your mental, or your spiritual. So you could be triggered on all 4 of them, or in a couple of them. And so when someone enters your space and you get triggered, you have the ability to look at these perspectives and say, oh, why did I get triggered? Was it the you to me perspective? Did I judge myself for getting triggered? Did I judge them and then go into self-judgments? Because we could have multiple perspectives going on here. And let's see, here is the 5th perspective, the world to me. And that's a lot of me's out there, because this is what duality is like. We have our own, clusters of people, but if you notice, we're all connected through those little silver energetic bars. There is no separation, but it all appears in duality to be separate. So let's take a moment to notice one of the perspectives that you can look at, some of the judgments that you've experienced regarding the coronavirus. Now, it can be anything it wants to be. We're just going to connect with it so you can understand how either you feel the judgments and you're very sensitive to those, they really do feel like arrows and knives and barbs that have been kind of directed at you. But you may also be aware that you were the ones sending the judgments. And maybe you would like to take a moment to say, okay, yeah, that's mine. I take that back. Because maybe we said something to a family member because we're getting a little tense all living under one roof. Or maybe we said something to a friend who does not meet with our agenda for how to be safe or sane or keep the peace. And so let's just let go of one or two of those judgments and breathe that out and just say, okay, yeah, I own that. That's mine. I let that go. And maybe you can notice what energy body it may have come from. Was it in your mental mind that you created that judgment out of fear? That will just be a little red flag for you to go back and say, oh, why do I have that judgment? Because it is keeping me in fear. And then I keep seeing it pop up in people around me. And I think right now that when the world is sharing a judgment with you, there is enormous pressure that we feel to either conform, go into obedience. We're told to suppress your instincts and just shelter at home. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing right now. What I'm sharing is we often go into compromise and settling and feeling victim of circumstance. The world to me often presents life circumstances and it's loaded with judgments, which means it's loaded with fear. And the moment that we go into agreement with it, we're almost validating our own fears and we're lowering our energy even more because we're using the quantity, if you will, of the numbers of the world coming to me and saying, this is the truth, without consulting our inner guidance of what our truth is. So that is why we're sharing with you how we are so influential. And this is an example of push energy. We might want the world to change. And this is push energy. Changing the world happens in here and in here. And we hope that what we're sharing with you tonight begins to give you fresh perspectives about how you are influencing others and how others are influencing you so that you can go, oh my gosh, I understand now why I have a panic attack because, you know, my fears are getting just rattled by what everyone is sharing with me and it doesn't feel like it's the truth. And there might be pressure to buy into this. And fear, just so you remember, it's false evidence appearing real. F-E-A-R. Fear creates a false reality. And when we go into agreement with it, we lower our energy because right away we start looking for proof that we're right. Because our survival brain wants to make sure that our ego is making good choices and it needs to see it manifested in the world. So we encourage you, when you notice your thoughts going down that trail of survival, you need to catch yourself and say, oops, oh my gosh, look at me. Okay, good thing I caught myself. What can I do right now to go down the path of Pronoia, which is the universe is conspiring to support me? And begin focusing on what you do want rather than what you don't want. So as always, we have two beautiful gifts for you that were written from love. We started this project 2 years ago, and they're available at leapofconsciousness.com. There's an empowerment book, and there is a conscious choice challenge. And the conscious choice challenge is 101 emails to support you getting conscious with your unconscious thoughts. Because it's in those thoughts that you will find your fears, And you will be able to release the beliefs that are creating the emotions that go with the fears. You will be able to reframe your unconscious thoughts, your judgments, and let them go from those 5 energetic perspectives. And you'll get lots of opportunity in every lesson to deepen your knowledge and your understanding of these energetic circles of influence that you have been living in your whole entire life. And let's see, give yourself unlimited opportunity and potential by releasing the belief you are someone you once were. The reason we're doing this is because globally there are such huge, profound, transformational shifts happening on the planet. And Ashley and I are here to share with you all of our knowledge, all of our resources. We want you to be empowered to make it through what's going on here on the planet with peace and a centered sense of self. So I want to just invite you to come back for tomorrow night or watch the next video. We are sharing these videos. We ask you to share them with somebody in the hopes that they will also learn how to create peace in their life. These tools are enormously powerful. So you may also invite people, share the Zoom link so that they can participate in this healing circle to get these empowerment tools just like you are. And we invite you afterwards to do Q&A with us. Thank you so much. We're so grateful for your commitment to change what's in your unconscious mind so you can create peace that will transform the world. And as always, you know, I think you are amazing. You are so important to this planet. Your presence matters. Who you are matters. And we thank you for being such a bright light. Thank you.